sports bring us the official footy game with 2002 FIFA World Cup, and as ever with FIFA titles, it's a showcase for massive graphical overindulgence. There's an astounding level of detail on each of the player models, making each one instantly recognisable, and some tremendous replays to show it all off. The game is all about atmosphere, and it has that in abundance.
Superb lob, good accuracy.
What's more, there's a decent game here as well. Every one of the Japanese and Korean stadiums have been faithfully recreated, and all 42 squads are as accurate as can be, with 40 players to choose from just in case a late injury to a star player results in an unexpected replacement.
Got a finger to it. Cleared from
the action is silky smooth, unlike FIFA's last outing, and the new passing system remains, although the flaws have now been ironed out and all manner of extravagant plays are now feasible propositions.
And that's a well-taken penalty. Yes, no problem there. Keepers hate to see it near them. And that's hit the post. Scores!
The biggest game innovation is the new Stars feature. These heroes of the field possess amazing levels of ball control, with the idea being to get the ball to these characters and let them open up the opposition's defence. In practice, though, you'll come to rely on these stars too much, making the whole thing very much a one-man team.
This is the result. Owen.
Motti and Andy Gray are as excitable as ever with the commentary, although the focus on the World Cup has left the game without any league teams, which is a bit of a disappointment.
Nice touch. Why use the floor when the ball gets there quicker in the air?
While 2002 FIFA World Cup may not be quite as sublimely realistic as Pro Evolution Soccer, it's certainly a good contender, and you just can't beat that spectacular atmosphere. Tetris is the classic game of falling blocks that became an instant hit in the mid-80s. But now we have Tetris Worlds, with a whole new storyline and amazing backdrops. Yes, we know, we're not that excited either. Actually, the backgrounds aren't the only things that define these worlds. Each one comes with a variation on the classic game, although none of them are substantially different. They're all still blocks cascading down the screen. It would seem that developer Blue Planet has missed the point somewhat. Tetris was never about the graphics and never will be. It's all about the challenging gameplay. On this score, Tetris Worlds is pretty much true to its predecessor, except for the whole world variation thing. You also get the option to see a ghost image where your block will fall, and the chance to rotate and move your block even after it has landed. This makes things much easier, of course, but can be turned off to keep veterans happy. While the story remains rubbish, it still provides the best game mode. Arcade mode comes with an annoyingly small screen area and no real differences, and the two-player mode is okay, but nothing really special either. Fundamentally, if you like Tetris, then this is what you like. If you don't, then don't even bother. The £20 price tag makes this remake slightly more palatable, but since you can play Tetris on your calculator, you do have to wonder. Has always been popular, despite the only excitement being the occasional spectacular crash. So when developer SmartDog came up with the extreme F1 concept that is Downforce, it's definitely worth a look. And just as we hoped, there are plenty of impressive crashes, launching cars into the blue left, right and centre. And with 9 other cars on the track, all of which are just as aggressive and fallible as any human competitor, things certainly become chaotic really quickly. There's nothing like roaring around a corner at ludicrous speeds, only to find the road blocked by a 6-car pile-up, and only a fraction of a second to react. As you might surmise, the gameplay is very arcade-orientated. You won't find any laborious pit stops here, and if your car gets totaled, then you're removed from the track and dropped straight back down with a shiny new set of wheels. It's all very simplistic, but still a great deal of fun to play. Learn the basic road law concerning accelerating and decelerating while cornering, and how to dodge the debris that soon litters the road, and you're ready to go. On the downside, some people might just find it a little too simplistic and forgiving, not to mention the frustrating way that you always seem to be the one to come off worst in any collision, making muscling through the pack a risky proposition. And if you end up facing the wrong way after a particularly violent spin, then it can be a real pick to turn the car back around. While Downforce is not to be compared with the likes of GT3, TOCA or Burnout, it still proves to be a lot of fun in a very retro, arcadey, old-school way. Football games are going to have a hard time making their presence felt in the PSW offices, with Pro Evolution Soccer having won such a firm place in our hearts. So how is ISS2 going to win our attention? Firstly, the two games share a joint heritage, which resulted in PES becoming the market leader in football realism, and now ISS2 being the latest master in accessible arcade action.
He shoots from there.
But is it better?
Getting it forward.
Not really. Quicker, easier, more seductive, but ultimately less rewarding.
He'll hit one here. It's in!
There's no real sense of the long-term challenge, understanding or devotion that its rival provides.
Proguard. There's the cross. It's very crowded in the area. There's a group of players on the edge of the 6-yard box.
While their joint origins mean they share a lot in the way of aesthetics and control method, there are several points to set them apart.
There's no card, just a warning.
On the plus side, you get some pretty extravagant animations, and the realistic player likenesses are impressive. Even the commentary manages to be effective without beginning to grate.
And that's 1-1! That was a world-class finish. 35 minutes play. They draw level. That's dangerous play.
On the downside, the visuals are less sharp, a problem which is emphasised by poor camera work that can become a real strain on the eyes. You'll also find that the ball can move in an alarmingly unrealistic manner.
He knocks it forward.
Add to this some poor AI and an annoying habit of the player focus flitting about when you really need to concentrate your defence, and things can become slightly irritating.
Touches it on. That's a good spot. He takes the shot. And it went in! Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Let's just see how it develops.
ISS2 is a good introduction for beginners or the casual player without the patience to learn the game properly.
Good reflexes. The keeper somehow keeps it out.
But when the flaws begin to become annoying, it's time to move on to the more serious contender, Pro Evolution Soccer.
The defenders are giving the forwards far too much room at the moment. What a great finish! There was nothing the keeper could do.
Mad Maestro is the ideal rhythm action game for all of you budding zany orchestral conductors, so it's a real pity that there aren't any. The twist in this particular rhythm game is that you get to conduct the music, rather than just following along to it. This ultimately means that you have to watch the balls circle around the centre of the screen and press the button when it passes over the marks. But that's not all. No, the colour of the mark also signifies how hard you need to press the button, blue being the softest press, through to green to the heavy red press. It takes a lot of getting used to, and the soft presses can often result in missing the mark altogether, which is very annoying. If you do well, the music begins to become recognisable as the pleasant orchestral classics we all know and love, and you'll enter the perfect angel mode and complete the stage. But make a pig's ear of it, and you will, and you'll sink into devil mode, before failing the stage completely and being forced to live the rest of your life in shame and disgrace. The visuals are nice enough, except for the occasional quick cut and other sickening moments. However, that's only really of any relevance to spectators, since the player will be spending their entire time watching that bloody ball go round. It's a daring move to write a game around classical music, rather than the usual hip-hop and rock, but the chances are that anyone with a fondness for the classics is not going to be impressed by the zany nature of the game. There are better ways to listen to music, and there are better ways to entertain games players. Now here's a bizarre concept for a game. Meet Mr Mosquito, a plucky young bloodsucker with his heart set on the blood of the Yamada family. It's up to you to control this thirsty little fellow as he buzzes and sucks his way through 12 missions throughout the Yamada apartment.
Get lost!
Things become a little bit more complicated with the numerous environmental hazards that threaten such a small hero, such as vicious air currents, poison and other anti-mosquito agents, not to mention the increasingly frantic efforts of the family members themselves. For the most part, it's actually quite good fun. You need to identify the crucial point on your victim that offers optimal blood suckage, then close in for the kill. If you can manage that much, then the challenge changes to a rhythm exercise. You need to circle the right stick at just the right speed, or you'll soon find yourself splattered without mercy.
Low kick! Reina kick! Hi-ya!
You nuisance!
Should you alert one of the family to your presence, then you'll be forced into battle mode. This duel sees them trying to wipe you out of existence, while you try to hit their relax points and put them back into a docile state.
Low kick!
The biggest flaw is just how short the game is, not to mention that the action doesn't vary much, and you'll soon get the feeling that you've done it all before.
Speak to you soon. Well...
There's a sometimes amusing and often weird storyline, and plenty of oddities in the scenery to fiddle with, but none of it really lengthens the lifespan of the game. The action is plenty of fun, with innuendos being laid on thick and fast, but is a game this short really worth 40 quid? Perhaps you should just wait till it's cheap.
Time to get out of the bath.
It's finally here! Squaresoft's highly anticipated Final Fantasy X is the epic tale of a young man named Tidus who's torn from his comfortable life and thrust into a perilous future where religion is favoured over technology and the population cower in fear from the destructive power of a creature known only as sin. As you'd expect from any episode of the Final Fantasy series, there's plenty of quests, monsters and adventure to be had, while improving the skills and powers of your team. And of course this one's much bigger, much better and much more impressive than anything to have gone before.
You will hurt no one!
The whole theme is more mature. Gone are the moody teenage angst-ridden storylines, and we're instead treated to themes of travel, self-discovery, religion, cultural divide and self-sacrifice, all provided in a refreshingly non-self-conscious manner. Each of the major protagonists has been impressively fleshed out, with a complete backstory, personality and some gorgeous graphics. And with the new combat system allowing you to switch teammates in and out as you see fit, you get a much stronger feeling of camaraderie than in previous games.
Yeah!
The environments are varied and absolutely stunning, and the sound is just as good, with almost every character having their own voice.
You will hurt no one!
Although they do suffer from the traditional and irritating dubbing from Japanese lip sync and Americanization problems. The experience system has also received an overhaul. You now move an avatar along various paths in order to unlock the special abilities of each stage. There are numerous routes to take, and plotting your progress is an important part of the game's strategy. Being a review, it's our responsibility to look for any flaws, but there's not much to criticise. The shoddy PAL conversion is disappointing, leaving annoying borders and a jerky frame rate, and we'd advise you to play it in widescreen if you can. And then there's the drawback that comes from such elegant scripting, the feeling of linearity. But with everything else going on, you'll hardly notice. So, despite a few small niggles, Final Fantasy X remains one of the finest moments in console RPG history. Buy it now and say goodbye to your social life.
It all begins here.
Rhythm action games have become immensely popular since they're easy to get into, can be played in any spare moment, and are totally addictive. And so far they've been pretty much the domain of the Japanese. But now the American-made frequency is about to change all that. You control the strange frame at the bottom of the screen, and the 8 sides of the tunnel represent various aspects of the song, such as drums, bass and vocals. You can jump from track to track, and you need to press the correct button as the marks pass beneath you in order to link up a section of the tune and make it play continuously in the background. The aim is to build up the entire song.
Dig this.
It sounds weird, but it works really well. Granted, initially it's very confusing, but you'll soon be putting the whole song together and enjoying every moment of it. There's a good range of music, with enough quirky tempos and varieties to keep everyone entertained, although there's an unfortunate heavy bias to modern American new rock. There are 5 groups of 4 tracks to begin with, and several more to unlock through high scores and repeatedly completing the game on various difficulty settings. The multiplayer games are excellent as well, catering for 2 to 4 players and pitching you against one another to gain credit for completing each song. There are plenty of special pickups to encounter, allowing you to affect your opponent's performance, making the challenge all the more competitive. Frequency seems similar to Res, but without the requirement to be completely stoned in order to fully enjoy the experience. It's easy to understand, fun to play, and brilliant to listen to. Rhythm action that everyone can enjoy. Men's tennis has increasingly become a simple matter of powering the ball over the net at horrendously dangerous speeds in an attempt to waste the opposition, whereas women's tennis is a much more complex game of extensive rallies and impressive racket work. So perhaps this is why Konami chose to focus on women's tennis with its Pro Tennis WTA Tour. It was either that or the sweaty girls in miniskirts. Unsurprisingly timed to coincide with Wimbledon season, this does have the disadvantage of bringing it into competition with Namco's Smash Court Pro Tournament. Not a good state of affairs for WTA Tour. What you do get is a great selection of female tennis stars, with the notable absence of Anna Kournikova, who had pressing licensing agreements elsewhere. But the problems really start when we get to the pace of the game. Despite the variable qualities of the surfaces, even the fastest courts seem woefully slow. This might not be terrible on its own, but combine this with a slow and unresponsive control system, plus the apparent inability of the players to put the ball anywhere but in the centre of the court, and things begin to get depressing. Very soon, games seem to develop into formulaic pass-the-ball events, which can be less than enthralling, even with girls in miniskirts. So, if it's tennis you're after this summer, then you'd be advised to pass over Pro Tennis WTA Tour and go straight for Smash Court Pro Tournament. It's certainly the better of the two, game, set and match. We've seen a huge rise in rhythm action games recently, and Gitaroo Man is certainly one of the most bizarre we've seen so far. The strangeness begins with Gitaroo Man playing a techno space guitar to battle alien invaders and other weirdness, and it all just gets more confused from there on in. After you've recovered from the surreal plot and graphics, the next thing you'll notice is just how demanding this is for a rhythm action game. Guitar playing involves spinning that blue radar thing around and pressing buttons on demand to produce those wonderful distorted metal sounds. It's all very challenging, especially when the game throws in patterns of extra button symbols to make things harder. Each level is broken down into 3 sections. Things begin with a preliminary charging session requiring some accurate guitar playing to boost your power gauge, followed by a button pressing defending event to fend off incoming attacks. And after that, it's time for the final all-out attack, where you guitar your opponent out of the picture. As with all these cookie kind of party games, things become a lot more interesting with more players. and Gitaroo Man supports 2 to 4 simultaneous musical jammers, battling through sound. That's something everyone should hear at least once. To help you out, there's a training mode, but the action never really becomes instinctive, and while it's certainly fun enough, it's very complicated for this style of game. And then there's the talking dog, which is always a bad sign. PlayStation 2 benefits from a glut of rallying games. So the arrival of Pro Rally 2002 would have been expected to bring something special to make it stand out. Sadly, this isn't the case. There's nothing here that we haven't seen before, and worse, there are many things here that have been done better elsewhere. The handling is laborious, making control loss easy and path spins common. The physics engine is primitive and uninspiring, and the obstacles and other vehicles vary between being ephemeral and knocking you into outrageous spins, while not even providing a damage model or some dirt. Even off-track, things don't get any better. The loading times are epic. The training school provides tests, but no instruction, and there are no named professional drivers to add flavour to the proceedings. The cars themselves, while modelled nicely, don't quite have the sparkle of modern games, and the choice of vehicles seems severely dated for a game claiming the 2002 tag. On the plus side, some of the scenery can look quite impressive, especially in the centre of towns, but without any gameplay to back it up, there's no real point. If you have £20 to spend on a rallying game with no damage model, then you'd be better off leaving Pro Rally 2002 on the shelves and purchase GT3 Platinum Release with added road racing modes. Shadowheart sets out by breaking the RPG tradition by being set in 1913, but from there on in, the clichés just keep rolling in. The hero is rude, abrasive, puerile, and incredibly annoying. The dialogue is trite with astounding quantities of innuendo, and the voice acting isn't up to much either.
Yeah, I could use some help here.
The story kicks off with the sinister Roger Bacon making off with the winsome Alice Elliott in order to sacrifice her to some dodgy god or other. In other news, certain Japanese forces are also after Miss Elliott, and our rude hero is the only one who can save her. Lucky Alice. On the novel side, our hero turns out to be a harmonixer, which means he can morph into other creatures during battles. There are more than 20 shapes to collect, and to do so you must visit the graveyard in your dreams. It's one of the few fantasy settings amongst the otherwise realistic backdrops. The other unique feature is the Judgment Ring. Anytime you try to do anything, this ring appears. At this point, the aim is to press the button as the pointer swings over the marked areas. Your degree of success is determined by the accuracy of your timing. But with the messy and slightly ugly graphics, regrettable dialogue and cliched nature, there's nothing to really differentiate Shadowheart from any other RPG. Give it a go if you like the idea of the setting, but otherwise there's nothing new for you here. the advent of the awesome Virtua Tennis, you just can't review a tennis game without a comparison. And so it's unsurprising that Sega's biggest rival, Namco, has released an almost perfect clone, Smash Court Pro Tournament. While this means that you're guaranteed a great game of tennis, there are a few differences that are worth noting. Firstly, there are a couple of moves that are worth a mention. The somewhat disappointing lob proves to be curiously ineffective, making it near useless in competitive play. Then there's the slice shot and the more powerful topspin return. Since the only difference is that the topspin is faster, it makes the slice more than a little redundant. Otherwise, the gameplay is just like Virtua Tennis, concentrating on speed and accuracy. Only your serves stand a chance of crossing the lines when you're striving to achieve those aces, so the focus is firmly on outmanoeuvring your opponent. The most noticeable difference is in the looks of the two games. Smash Court has pitched for a more cartoonish appearance for its 8 superstars, and while this does look rather neat, it means that the characters don't resemble the real-life stars quite so well, much to the disappointment of Anna Kournikova fans. The multiplayer options are probably the biggest draws, with the 2 and 4 player games proving to be great fun, but the single player mode is slightly less impressive and quickly becomes difficult. Virtua Tennis was pretty much perfect, and Smash Court is a pretty much perfect clone. There may be a few factors that hold the two apart, but you can be sure that Smash Court still presents you with an exceptional game of tennis.
Smash Court Pro Tournament.
How y'all Frog?
Okay, I guess. This can't be the only jambalaya being served, Lumpy. I want to zap new bugs, swim new streams, be frog loose and froggy free.
Back in the early days of home computing, there was a great hero among gaming superstars. His name was Frogger, and dodging traffic and crocodiles was his game. Now, with retro titles being all the rage, he's back. Or at least some very bad, utterly thoughtless, lazy platforming cousin of his is back. Far from instilling nostalgic warmth, Frogger the Great Quest instead takes the glowing memory and hits it with a 20-ton truck. It's not even good for a platform game, and with excellent examples like Maximo around for the same price, it makes Frogger look very poor by comparison.
You're not so tough.
The controls are awful, which is a particularly heinous crime for a game requiring any degree of precision. Frogger's movements are exaggerated and often result in missteps, and the camera just doesn't help. When encountering the pathetic, sparsely animated fish swimming below, you can either choose to swim away and spit at them from the land, or invoke the inevitable double jump, which means inflating his throat so that he can glide long distances. Hardly impressive. The land-based confrontations are little better, requiring you to square up to your opponent and then bash a button for a random frog-foo move. Again, not exactly inspiring stuff. There are 17 stages of this nonsense, littered with hundreds of coins to collect, but it doesn't get any better. Frogger the Great Quest is simply not fun, and it's a shame to soil the memory of this great legend with such rubbish.
Much obliged, Bruiser. You're the beast. I mean best. Take care.
Baseball isn't exactly the most high-profile of sports this side of the Atlantic, so you'd be excused for approaching AllStar Baseball 2003 with a certain amount of trepidation.
For a call, goes after the first pitch. The third baseman. And the side is retired.
Being All-Star, it does of course feature all the top stars in the baseball world, although claiming to predict who the stars are going to be next year seems a little forward.
Fantastic play.
He didn't get a great jump on the ball, but he's got nice speed.
The graphics and animations are very nice, although the gameplay remains curiously unsatisfying. Making contact with your bat is pretty tough, and the fielding is just plain dull.
Strike three.
At least passing the ball to your teammates around the diamond is easy enough, with each base corresponding to the appropriate symbol on the keypad.
One away.
However, if you don't know baseball, then the tactics are going to be pretty incomprehensible, and the whole experience is just a bit dull.
The outfielders don't even turn around and look at it. That ball had no doubt.
For those of you who are fans of the sport, all 6 of you, the chances are that you've played in the 2002 incarnation of the game, and you'd be unsurprised to hear that this one is bigger, better, faster, more, but fundamentally the same game.
When facing lefties, Higginson hit .293 last season.
2 down. Swings and hits it towards left center, very deep. Gone, 439 feet.
If you're interested in the sport, you'll find All-Star Baseball 2003 nice to look at, curiously compelling, but ultimately less satisfying than you might hope. And if you're not into the sport, then it really isn't going to make a lot of sense to you.
Perfect swing.
Tiger Woods returns in his latest golf update, Tiger Woods PGA Tour Golf 2002. But even though it includes Tiger's Fantasy 18 course, the whole thing still lacks severely in some excitement. It's nice enough, but there's nothing to get your pulse racing. Driving the ball hard results in a flashy motion blur, and get it spot on and your golfer even takes a run-up. Unfortunately, this doesn't happen very often. Overpowered shots can be achieved by wrapping L1 as you complete the backswing. But since you're trying to control one of the analog sticks at the same time, it's all a bit tricky. Yes, once more, there are no power gauges and EA is persisting in using the analog stick to control the swing. The concept is actually quite neat, but the problem is that the human thumb just doesn't move like that. Luckily, it's noticed this and the controls are a little more tolerant to inconsistencies in your swing, but only a little. A welcome addition is that the golfers themselves react nicely. Their hearts start pounding when the next shot becomes crucial, and they even throw tantrums when things go badly. A nice touch there. The ball physics are excellent, so much so that you won't even notice them, and that's the way it should be. The players are also good, depressingly so sometimes. You'll have your work cut out to make a mark against some of these pros. Tiger Woods PGA Tour Golf 2002 is pretty much what you'd expect from an EA update. More, better and newer. It's accomplished, tough, but largely unexciting unless you're a true golf fanatic.